What's up, Sober family? This is Alika, and this is the second week into the new year that we're doing this live show, this recovery talk. And today I have my friend coming on. Her name is Dominique, and she has a great story to tell. I've heard her story before, and honestly, it made me cry. So be prepared to bust out your tissues for this episode. Here she is. I'm not going to tell her whole story for her, but just to kind of give her a little introduction. I've known her for a while. You know, she is an advocate for the sober community on social media. And here she is. So I'm going to get her in here real quick, guys, and we can get the show going. Hey, there you are. How's it going?
Good, how you doing?
All right, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You look good.
Thank you.
All
I actually
right.
cut my hair today. You know, I'm usually in a bun and sweat, so
Oh, yeah. I know. You're like always like working out, man.
I try. It's a big part of my daily habit to
Yeah.
stay happy, and yes,
All right. So how's everything going?
it is going great. I
Mhm.
feel so blessed, Alika. I feel so blessed. Thank you so much for. I mind if I said I wasn't nervous.
Mm.
It never gets easier to share my story, but I do get
Yeah.
more. So thank you so much for allowing me to spread my story of hope.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, man. I mean, your story carries a lot of depth and weight. To me. I mean, I think the first time I heard it, I think it was on Steve's podcast, I believe. And I was listening to it at night because I stay up late with my son. And it was so powerful. I was just telling everybody how it made me cry. And but the thing about that, why it actually made me cry, it was because I could relate. I can identify with how you felt, the things you did, and especially that's no longer the way you live your life today.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's like so much freedom in that. So thank you so much for sharing. But before we go into your story, I'll just ask you three quick questions before we get started. Is that okay?
Okay,
Okay.
I'm ready.
So the first one is, how long have you been sober?
So I call it my connection day. I believe very strongly that connection, opposite of addiction, not sobriety. And that date for me is July 16th, 2018.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I like that. Connection day. I like that. I like that. And then, so where are you from?
I'm 42 years old and I am from born and raised Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh, all right. Okay. And then, so the last question is, what was your choice in drink and or drug?
So I am a proud survivor of opiate addiction. I
Okay.
abused oxycodone. That was my pain pills was my primary drug of choice that I turned to for my peace of mind.
Yeah. When I was going to school to be a counselor, I remember learning about that. And I wasn't aware of this, but the majority of people that become addicted to drugs starts off with like, they hurt themselves on the job, and then they get prescription pain medicine. And companies like big pharma, I mean, they just get these prescriptions and then they become addicted to them. And then once they can't get that, then they go to the street drug, which typically will be heroin.
Yes.
And in the UK, this thing is very popular. It's like heroin. The street name for it is crocodile. And what it is, it does the same things to people. They give them the same effects of like being high on heroin, but they add something to it, like the drug dealers, to kind of cut it, to make stretch it, to make more money. And that other ingredient, I forgot what it was, but basically it'll eat the flesh off of your bone, your
I
skin. Yeah, like literally I've seen pictures of like this lady's forearm. You could see her bone, like it's showing. It's like a big hole. All her skin is missing. Like people's feet, all their skin is missing. Their bones are sticking out, and then their skin down here. I mean, it was just insane. And it's starting to make its way into the United States, but it's very popular in the UK right now.
that's scary. And
Mhm.
that was what happened to me. I don't know if you want to jump into my story right away,
Yeah,
but
yeah, go ahead.
that's exactly what happened to me. I was not educated on pain pills. In 2009, it was December of 2009, I woke up with debilitating abdominal pain. My husband had to call the ambulance. That's how bad it was. To make a long story short, I ended up being diagnosed with endometriosis. It's a very painful abdominal disease that many women live with. And the doctors just chose to treat my pain. So with that came endless amounts of prescriptions of pain pills. I was not educated on pain pills. I had no idea what they were doing to my body. Eventually, my pain got so bad that I ended up having to have emergency surgery. I had 16 inches of my intestines removed, and I was in the hospital for 10 days after that. I was on IV Dilaudid, which is like 10 times stronger than morphine, around the clock, where I could actually press a button and administer it to myself.
Oh,
And the pain was so bad. In addition to that, I would be getting hydrocodone every 2 to 4 hours.
wow.
I left that hospital dependent, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the condition that I had, I was able to continuously get refills, and I ended up having another surgery shortly after that. So I was on pain pills for a straight year, had no idea what it was doing to me. The first time I actually experienced withdrawal symptoms, I didn't even know that that's what they were. I have a twin sister, and I was out of town with her, and I felt feeling sick. And I guess the night before I had called her and told her, oh, I'm running out of my happy pills. I started referring them to my happy pills. So the next day when I was feeling sick, she told me, hey, you know, that's withdrawal symptoms. I had no idea. At the same time period, my grandpa, who raised me, I was raised by my maternal grandparents. So I call him dad. I loved him very much. Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay.
At the same time, around the same time period, he got diagnosed with cancer. So when I got home from that Las Vegas trip, the withdrawal symptoms are so horrendous. They get worse and worse as the hours progress. It starts off feeling like it's flu, like sore throat. And then I literally felt like I was crawling out of my skin. It was awful. So I knew he had pain pills. He got endless amounts of prescription drugs. And I just wanted to break from the pain. I wanted to break from the physical and mental anguish. And I just told myself, I'm going to go to his house, take a few pills to hold me over, and I'll be fine. I'm a very strong-willed person. I'm very determined. I'm very goal-oriented. When I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. I was a single mom and put myself through college. So that mindset is what almost killed me. I didn't realize what they were doing to me. And so unfortunately, that one trip turned into 4 years of me going to his house and stealing pills. It consumed my entire life. It was a full-time job. That was all I could think about. All I thought were those pills every single day. It got to the point to where I could not even function without them. If I didn't have them, I could barely get out of bed and brush my teeth. I can't even tell you how I got ready for work on days that I didn't have those pills. One morning I didn't have pills and I had to go to work. I knew that they weren't going to be home, and I actually, at that time, they had already had the pills in the safe because they discovered that I was stealing from him. So desperate, I actually went to their house, and my husband's a contractor, and I took a sawzall from our garage, and I broke into their house, and I cut open the safe with the saw and stole his pills. I tried to super glue the door back on, and I put it on upside down. You know, that just goes to show the state of mind that I was in. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I was just so desperate, Alika, to function, to feel normal. And I stole from him and stole from him. I manipulated them so many times. It got to the point to where my tolerance got so high, I was actually needing all of his pills, and I had to swap out allergy medicine. So because of that, I was putting him into withdrawals, and he didn't know he would be sick. And it killed me because I knew that he was suffering the withdrawals, but I didn't know how to tell him. And that's what addiction does to us. It could take somebody, and you don't want to hurt anybody, but you're just so desperate to fill a void. When I took those pills, they gave me a peace that I've never felt before. You know, all my life, I've always had that like buzzing in my head, just worry about everything, worry about what people think of me, worry about this. And I would get told, why do you worry? You care too much about what people think. You're pretty, you have a nice job, you have a nice car. So I turned that into guilt, and I would beat myself up like, God, Dominique, how could you be so selfish? You have this, you have that, like, what's wrong with you? So that turned into guilt and self-hate and self-guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually almost lost my life to this addiction in 2014. Another morning I woke up, didn't have pills. I lied to my husband and actually told him I was going to go to work, and I went to my grandparents' house. For some reason, when he went in to go to the safe to get his dose, he didn't shut the safe right. So when I went to check it, it was open, and I felt like a little kid in Disneyland. I was so excited. I mean, they were my life. Like I was like a little kid in a candy store. That's how much this drug had total control of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And he had fentanyl patches. I was not educated on fentanyl. I now know that fentanyl is about 100 times stronger than heroin
Mm-hmm.
and oxycodone. On that day I overdosed. I just remember I actually put the patch in my mouth, and it's such a strong medication.
Mm-hmm.
That patch should be on your arm for 24 to 72 hours, and it time releases. But I actually took it orally, and I just remember waking up on the floor with paramedics all around me. Um, and they had to give me 2 doses of Narcan to reverse my overdose.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma had called my husband. He thought I was at work, so I couldn't imagine what he thought when my grandma was calling him and telling him Dominique's here. We had to call the ambulance. The paramedic did not let him in the ambulance with me. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget that ride in the ambulance. She kind of just like grabbed my arm and like started looking at my arm for like heroin track marks.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for me, I never had to go to the streets. I had family members that had him. I had my grandpa, and I just started crying, and I told her I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of this. And she kind of just like tossed my arm like back on my lap, and she's like, well, you just need to stop. So you can't imagine how alone I felt, how I felt like a piece of trash. I felt like I was worthless. This addiction really affected my family. I missed, on days I wouldn't have pills, I would miss sporting events for my kids because I would be sick. So I would have to lie and tell them that I had the flu because you can't function. You physically cannot function without these pills. I wanted off of these pills so bad. I would have given anything to get off them, but my body needed them. I needed them just to brush my teeth. Like I couldn't function. And my daughter recently told me that she thought I hated her during that time because I was just, when I wouldn't have my pills, I would just be so edgy. I would be irritable. I'd get cold sweats. I hated myself. And for her to tell me that, just, it kills me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally told her what I was going through and she was old enough, she told me, Mom, you know what? She's like, I had no idea what you were going through. And I feel I treated you like an asshole. But she didn't know. She was a kid.
Yeah.
And she's like, I wish I would have known so I could have supported you. And, you know, I always knew that I wanted to share my story. I always knew I didn't know how I was going to share it. But I was like, nobody deserves to go through this. I know who I am as a person. And shame, fear of judgment and shame almost took my life.
Mm-hmm.
I almost lost my life to this because of the stigma and because of the shame that's attached to addiction. Because people treat us that we're weak, we're low lives, will never change. The
Mm-hmm.
stigma almost took my life. And as hard as it is to tell my story, it was harder to stay quiet. And
Yeah.
I had to do my part. I had to. I mean, I cannot imagine these poor people that are suffering with addiction right now in the midst of this pandemic. And I wasn't sure how my husband and my kids were going to feel about me sharing my story.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to tell me that, how proud they are of me. You know, like my 17-year-old son tells me, Mom, to see what you've gone through, like, I know that I can overcome anything because I've seen you. And I recently became a grandma, and
Yeah.
I've almost robbed of that. I was almost robbed of that because of shame. And I will continue to use my story. I will continue to share it. It's not easy. Like, this is not easy for me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's way too damn important to show people that they're not alone, because I felt so alone. I felt so freaking alone. And I have met so many people like you. There's so many of us. And
Yeah.
I I never thought that I would look back and be grateful for my recovery, because my recovery forced me to do some deep work that I don't think I ever would have done. Maybe I would have, but it has forced me to I say I've become my own best friend through recovery. There were times where I didn't even want to look in the mirror. I hated myself. I couldn't believe that I was a drug addict. And I'm so grateful to my recovery. I'm so grateful to the community and to the people that I have met. There's so many people. You're one of them. I thank you so much for what you're doing. And together we can end this stigma. And that's what my passion is. I will never stop. I will never stop.
Yeah, you know, I can attest to what you're saying, because I've been following you for quite a while on Instagram specifically. And you know, it's obvious, you know what I mean? And I'm so glad that there's people out there like you. I mean, because you're posting new stuff every day, and you never know who's going to come across it one day, or somebody who has already been following you, and all of a sudden they see something that you said, they hear it, see something you post, and bam, the light switch will come on, you know. And I can relate to you, you know, and like, oh man, you know, it's just so hard not to cry doing that thing, that whole thing you're saying, man. But you know, because I'm reading this book right now, I have it on my desk. This book, it's called Recovered. I did a live show with this guy, Jacob Jones, and his thing was pills. I'm like more than halfway through the book, but he explained it basically like how you just said. The withdrawals is so intense and crazy, like it literally feels like you're gonna die, you know. And I've done pills. I've done a lot of pills, but my main drug of choice was cocaine. So I never got to experience that withdrawal from not having any pills, you know. But I mean, I can only imagine what it was like for people like you and him and other people, you know, around the world that's still, you know, suffering, man, from, because this withdrawal thing, man, is no joke, you know. Something else I learned too is in regards to alcohol. Well, first of all, alcohol is the one drug we don't have to explain using. You know, it's so normalized today. And on paper, like speaking from a counselor, if you look at every single drug and alcohol on paper, alcohol is worse than all of them. Actually, I didn't know that prior to becoming a counselor, because you know you always hear people dying from cirrhosis of the liver, but alcohol does not just affect the liver. I mean, that's part of it. It affects our kidneys, our pancreas, our eyes, our blood, our hearts, our kidney, like everything. Alcohol is legitimately poison, and our body automatically will fight against it as soon as it enters into our bodies. And you know how on the prescription pills, you know, you see don't drink with alcohol and stuff like that. You know, I thought because, you know, kind of give you more an intense high or something, but actually that's not why. The reason those are on, from what I learned, the reason why they put those on, because when you're consuming alcohol, your kidney, or not your liver is trying to filter the alcohol, and when you take the pill, the alcohol, it takes so much time to filter. The pill will never get down there to do what it's supposed to do, so it just dissolves in your body and nothing happens. Yeah, so it's like you're taking it for nothing. And I was like, oh wow, I remember learning that in school as well. So let's see. You want me to get into the questions now?
Yeah, I just wanted to know a little more regarding the withdrawal. What I ended up doing, I went to a methadone clinic, and there is so much stigma still with methadone and Suboxone, where people aren't educated. Oh, you're trading one drug for another. That is so not true. And you know, I looked up the first clinic, and I showed up to the first clinic that popped up. I had no idea what I was walking into. I looked very different than everybody in there, but we were all the same. We were all the same. So I thank God for putting me there, because people would come up to me like, what are you doing here? You know, they assume, people have this preconceived conception of what a drug addict, you know, wow, if it happened to you. And I gave them hope. And I needed that intensive therapy, because we were all the same. I was no better than them, regardless of how we looked, where we come from. We were all fighting the same demon. And there is nothing to be ashamed of to be on methadone or Suboxone. I was on it, and it saved my life. I tried withdrawing by myself a few times, and I couldn't. I couldn't. It was horrendous. And that's another thing. You know, I relapsed way too many times to count my first 2 years. I would beat myself up and start the vicious cycle again, but I eventually started using those relapses as a way to learn and give myself self-love and give myself the grace. And that's another message I want to give. If you relapse, don't beat yourself up. Don't go down that spiral, and you're worth it. You're worth getting up, fighting that fight. And if you relapse 10 times, you get up 11 times. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
that's all that matters.
yeah, yeah.
Because I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for methadone. My kids would be
Yes.
with mom.
Yeah, yeah. You
Nothing
know,
like
I got sober in a 12-step program. So a lot of the people around me that has been sober, that I've got sober with, um, I had this thinking like, man, they're like cheating. They're not clean. They're down methadone, Suboxone, all these things. Like that's how I used to think until I don't know. I was thinking like that maybe 2 years into being sober. And then I was still working my steps, starting to get to know myself better. Then I went to school, became a counselor. I started to learn because the one thing the 12-step program taught me is to keep an open mind. So I took that with me, even into school. I really had to keep it my mind open. And then I started hearing stories, reading people's stories of how they saved their life, the Norcan, 2 cans of it, all these things. And then I was starting to think, wait, number one, you kind of taking somebody else's inventory. Like what they do has nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? My recovery, my sobriety is mine. Theirs is theirs. You know what I mean?
yes.
And like when I started doing these live shows, like to me, I don't care how somebody got sober. It could have been God snapped his fingers, 12-step program, therapy. They just stopped on their own, whatever. If somebody was drinking and using and it was affecting their lives and they no longer live that way, like I want to hear about it, kind of thing. It doesn't matter. But it took a while, man, for me to transition from that, because when I started learning about like, wow, it's saving people's lives. I didn't know that. I thought people just was like, just kind of like cheating in a way. Like, they're just kind of, I never got sober like that. Like I had this jacked up way of thinking still, I was,
And
I
I
was
get it.
sober only like a year. Yeah.
I understand, because I would have thought the same way, but I'm one of the lives they saved, and I will advocate for methadone
Yeah.
because it's not trading in one for another, and I'm grateful to it. And
Yeah.
it's everyone's road to recovery is different. Hence the
Yeah.
unique. We're all unique. A unique way of doing our thing, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, but like even if it was methadone, even if it was cheating, still that has nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? That's everybody else's deal if they decide to do it. I'm not in control of what other people do. Freedom. Yeah.
Recovery. I mean, I think the recovery that us addicts, the road we take to overcome, that could be used for anybody, no matter what they're battling, because it's all mindset. It's all how you perceive things, how you live your life, what choices you make to live happily. It can be used it's a magic tool. Who would have thought us addicts would have the answer to happy life, right?
I know, it's amazing, but in my opinion, people like me and you, people who are in recovery, I believe we are the ultimate weapon in this fight against addiction, because we have an education that no amount of money can pay for, our own experiences. That's why, and I'm all for like schooling, therapy, doctors, counselors, all these things, definitely. But that will always be true in my heart for me, no matter if I get more degrees, if I become a therapist or whatever. I will always believe that me, you, other people struggle that are in recovery, we are the ultimate weapon. There's nothing like one addict or alcoholic sitting down helping another one. That's the most effective way I have ever seen and found in my whole life. Now, if there's something better than that, then like I'm all for it, But as of right now, that's the only one in the last, since the late 30s or mid 30s. I mean, nothing else has been more effective that I found so far.
I agree. And that's what I say. I always say those of us who have struggled with addiction, we're some of the most resilient people that will ever walk it, because the way we do addiction, it's commitment, it's dedication. We manipulate, of course, but once we can change that manipulation mindset to a positive outcome, there's no stopping us. I mean, it's freaking amazing.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, because my wife, she once in a while, because I was like active in my addiction, or I was just like this. I'm either all in or all out. But it was way more intense when I was an addict, when I was actively using and still drinking. And, it's like, all the because it's hard work, man. When you active in addiction, bro, that's some hard work. You gotta lie to all these people. Remember which lie you told. You gotta be here at a certain time. You gotta do this, do that, and it's just so exhausting, like mentally and physically.
Yes.
But like
It's a
those
full-time
kind
job.
of things, yeah, like all those experiences, like pushing our bodies to the limit, like we're almost gonna die, and our minds as well. And then when we get into recovery, like the skin is so thick now. Like honestly, today barely anything rattles me, anything. And it's all because of honestly my relationship with God, plus all my experiences that I've had along the way. It's amazing, like the resilience that we have, we don't give up real easy. We don't give up really easy.
No way. And I love that God is who I turn to. I made him so many empty promises.
Hmm.
I would promise, it was so hard to ask for help. And
Hmm.
I remember one morning just begging, like, please, God, just give me the strength, give me the courage. I don't want to do this anymore.
Hmm.
And I promised him that I wouldn't do it. And I let him down so many times, but he
Hmm.
never gave up on me. He
Yeah.
never gave up on me. And I'm so grateful to that. So
Me
grateful
too. Me
here.
too. I can relate to you even on that one, because God never turned his back on me. I always say, see, God has always been in my life, but I wasn't always in his life.
Yeah.
I was the one that walked away. I was the one that turned my back. But like active in an addiction, you're like, God, what happened? I thought where are you? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But what I found out when I got sober is that like the blessings and the curses is built into our decisions. It's not like, oh, God made me an addict. I hear people talk about, God is a punishing God. I've never known that side of God. Like me personally, I'm not saying people are wrong or anything. And I've never experienced that, because no matter how far down the wrong road you've gone, you can always turn around and come back. No matter how far down the road you go, and
Absolutely.
God's grace and mercy is sufficient. I'm literally here alive today because of God's grace and mercy, like
I,
literally.
I, I know. Thank you, God. Thank God.
Yeah.
Right. It's a beautiful thing. I just can't tell you how grateful I am to my recovery and for me never giving up on myself and for me having the family. I couldn't have done it without my family. I'm so
Mhm.
blessed. I'm so blessed. For
Yeah.
so so
I gotta tell you, there. I mean, I'm sure there's so much women out there that you inspire. But as a man, you actually inspire me, because when I was brand new in recovery, they told me to, hey, focus on the similarities, not the differences. So I just, I took that with me almost from like the first week, really, I got sober. And because what they were talking about is like, look, don't be like, oh, well, Dominique is a girl. I'm a boy. She lives in Albuquerque. I'm from Hawaii. Or he's Mexican. I'm Hawaiian. Whatever it is. So I'm glad I learned that early on, because that really helped me. Like just listening to you, even though I'm a man, it's very inspiring. Like I like it's super inspiring. I mean, I follow, like, to me, I get more pumped up. I mean, I'm not knocking any men on social media, but watching the ladies, the moms, the sober community, the sober mom squads, like people like that, like, man, I get so fired up, man. I'm all commenting and stuff and boo, 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 you know what I mean? Like man, it's just amazing, and that helps me, like it helps me. Like there's so much things that I have not learned yet, that I'm still learning, and it's amazing how a lot of these things I'm learning on social media. It's like things you probably would pay for, but it's all free right there on social media.
yes, and Alex and I were talking earlier, another one of our friends that
Uh
you and I
huh.
know. It's even though I'm sharing my story to help others, it helped me.
Yeah.
It's it makes me. I mean, I after I have a talk with somebody, I feel like I have had this intensive counseling session, and it help others. And what better gift is that than to help yourself, and along with that, help others? I mean, it's a recovery's been a gift. It's a beautiful gift. So
Yeah.
so grateful, very great, very very grateful.
Yeah, me too. I'm super grateful, man, for my life, for my recovery, for my sobriety. Um, so at this time, Dominique, can I ask you more questions?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Let's see what I got. Okay. So what was the hardest part of your recovery?
The hardest part was getting the courage to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That literally was the hardest part for me. And I never got into recovery because I asked for help. It was I got caught by my sister. And since my deep dark secret got exposed into the light, I was honestly relieved. And now I can go seek out help, because I wasn't gonna ask for it because I had too much pride. I made a decision I was gonna die from it or I was gonna die with it. The shame and embarrassment didn't. Nope. You're not telling anybody. You're taking this to the grave. So that's honestly for me. I can totally relate. That one is definitely one of mine.
And the shame, I almost feel like also by telling my story, I let out my little dirty secret. So it took 1,000 pounds off my shoulders. And
Yeah.
I confided into a coworker, and she went and told my boss that I was an addict. So I went to his office that next week. I was devastated, and I owned my story, and it felt. So
Yeah.
also by sharing my story on Instagram or publicly, however you want to say it,
Mhm.
it rids me of that shame. And if
Yeah.
it's my story, I get to write it. I get to tell how it ends. I get to own it. And
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that anymore. I was always worried. I wonder who knows. Oh my God, I wonder who's going to find out. It consumed me. It crippled me. It crippled me. Not no more. It feels so good.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was the hardest part of your recovery. So what was the easy part for you?
Well, the hardest part was asking for it, but then the easiest part was asking for it after I asked for it, because that's when the true work begins. The true work begins after you ask for help. And
Yes.
I mean, that's it. It was the easiest part and the hardest part, because once you ask for it, you either have to work for it. It's not going to be given to you.
Mm-hmm.
I shared a story recently how they talked about meditation, reading, journaling. And at the beginning of my recovery, I couldn't even function. My mind was a mess. And I would look at them like, are you guys effing crazy? I'm battling opiate addiction. I feel like a mess, and you want me to journal and write? But that was the answer,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to look in. You have to look inward. I wanted to blame my parents, my grandparents, my husband. I couldn't blame anybody anymore. I had to look inwards. And I listened to one of your podcasts, and you made a beautiful point. You didn't have a drinking problem, you had a you problem, because we take the drug or we take the drink when we're sober. The pill or
Yeah.
the drink is not the problem. We're
Yeah.
the help. We're not the problem, but we have a problem that needs to be looked into. And that was awesome how you said that. I never looked at it that way. So I'm learning from you too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is one I'm really looking forward to this answer for this next question. So, what are your daily habits that keep you on a path to recovery?
oh, it it used to be the first thing I would think about every day when I woke up was my pills, because
Mm.
I would go all night without them. So the first dose would usually be where I would get that euphoria at the beginning, the high
Mm-hmm.
I was chasing. Eventually that high goes away, and it's like chasing the dragon. But now I wake up every morning. I have my daily meditation, my daily prayers. I have my alone time. I love to work out. My counselors did get concerned at him for a moment, like, are you sure you're not getting addicted to exercising now? I'm like, no, because I work out to feel a certain way. I
Mm-hmm.
used to work out to look a certain way.
Uh-huh.
Now, and I'm not gonna lie, I love being able to wear a dress and feel good in my clothes, but
Mm-hmm.
I honestly work out to feel a certain way, and it's something I do for myself, and I'll hopefully always do that for the rest of my life. And just being present, my poor kids and my husband. For all those years, I was there, but I wasn't present. All
Mm-hmm.
I thought about was my pills. How am I going to get them? How many are left? I would talk to that little pill, Alika. They're tiny little pills, and
Yeah.
how do you have total control of my life? Like,
Yeah.
how do you own? It owned me.
Yeah.
Just being present and being in the moment, and I I never thought I'd be this grateful for my recovery. I could sing and dance right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I believe you. I can relate to you again. Like it's funny. I say this to so much people that I go live with, but honestly, like the more they talk, the more I can relate with them. You
It's
know, because like what I would do, what I started doing when I got into recovery was like the kind of habits that I created was all suggested to me that I still do, going on 4 years now. And what I do is, when I wake up, I'm not thinking about the drink and the drug anymore. So I changed my focus to other people. So I reach out to other addicts, alcoholics every day through a text message. I'll call people randomly to check up, not to check up on them, for me to check in, kind of thing. I do my daily devotional. I have a video devotional. I pray. Honestly, the place that I'm absolutely alone all the time, for sure, is in the shower. So honestly, I do a lot of praying in the shower. That might sound kind of weird, but I'm alone. I'm alone. There's no distractions. I cannot hear my son, or my wife is not trying to talk to me or something. It's just me and him time. And then after I do all of that, and then I start my day. I never just get up and go, boom, okay, let's go, let's start the day already.
I
But
love That's what I do. I'll get up like at 5:30 in the morning and just have that time to myself. And I have to share something with you real quickly.
mhm,
I had actually hired a mentor to help me get my story out because I was so scared. I was
mm,
so freaking scared to share my story. I could,
yeah,
so scary. So we had decided, okay, tomorrow's the day, be out there. Well, that night before, I started doubting myself and saying, Dominique, what are you doing? Like, who cares about you? Who's gonna care about your story? You're just another drug addict. Like, who cares?
mhm,
Like, who are you? Like, And
yeah,
I kid you not, Alika, the next morning, my devotional that I got, it said, there are many girls and women that need to hear your hope, and only through you and your connection through God. I mean, I was like, thank you, God. I mean, God's hand is all over this. He is all, and I say that's why he didn't take me that day I overdosed, because
yeah,
he
hmm
knew that I had a message to spread, and
yeah,
I will continue to do his work to the day I die.
yes. And you definitely do, man. You have a very powerful story to tell. It's always. I mean, I don't know if I probably will always tear up every time I hear it. Honestly, you know, but
Uh,
okay. Let me see. Next question. Okay. Did you have a perception of a drug addict before you struggled with your own personal addiction?
yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big reality check for me. Addiction was never talked about growing up with family members. I was never educated on it. And so I did have that preconceived, it's the homeless person on the street, the person,
Mm-hmm.
and addiction can happen to anybody. It does not discriminate.
Nope.
I always say we don't choose addiction, but we choose.
Yeah.
It's a disease. I didn't, some people can take pain pills and it doesn't phase them. For me, I felt like Superwoman. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
Superwoman. It's because of the way my brain, my opiate receptors are.
Mm-hmm.
It's proven. It's a proven fact that it's a disease, and I am guilty of stereotyping an addict. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Because I'm born and raised in Hawaii, so I also had this. This is my idea and what I thought for sure was the drunk, the alcoholic, the addict. It's the homeless guy down at the beach digging through the trash can. That I was in my mind, I was sure that's what it is. So if I don't become that, I'll be okay. I mean, and I was a kid. I was like 13, 14, thinking these thoughts already down at the beach because there was a lot of homeless people down there,
yeah,
but that was a big lie. I mean, addicts, alcoholics, their mothers, their fathers, they're CEOs, they're homeless people, they're businessmen and women, they're judges, you know what I mean? They're police officers, they're firefighters. Like it doesn't discriminate. I didn't know that. I was totally unaware of that. And that was one of the lies I bought,
me too.
to think that, okay, as long as I don't become that, I'll be okay.
I mean, look at all these celebrities. Look at
Uh-huh.
that. Doesn't show money does not buy happiness. I mean, that shows these people have everything at their fingertips.
Yeah.
It's a void that we're trying to fill. I was trying to fill a void. I didn't know what it was. I wasn't educated, and after doing all of my deep inner work, I was searching for self-acceptance and to fit in because
Hmm.
of history as a child,
Yeah.
um, and that's what I was searching for. And I had to find that within myself, and I finally feel whole. I finally feel whole.
Yes, yeah, because me too. I was looking for that at a young age, that acceptance. I wanted to be part of,
Yeah,
because I didn't like how I feel. Like, because naturally I'm an introvert, so I didn't like that. Because all of my cousins and my friends, they're all extroverts. They're all, they don't need drugs and alcohol to be social. I did, and so I just wanted to be part of. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to. And all my older cousins, I looked up to them. I always would hang out with them. They beat people up. Nobody messed with them. They get all the girls, and you know, all these kind of things. They can surf real good. They surf in all these big waves, and you know, just not being comfortable in my own skin, and I wanted to be somebody else. The drugs and alcohol helped me with that, you know. But it also turned around and stabbed me in the back. Yeah.
And I'm 42 years old, and I when I finally did the inner work and did all this work, man, I almost felt cheated. Like, God, man, I wish I would have known this 20 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, wait a minute, I have a 22-year-old daughter, and now a granddaughter,
Mm-hmm.
and my story gets to teach them that you stand for what you believe. You do not let the outside world define you, and you do not let shame cover any mistakes or anything you go through, and you fight like hell for what you believe in. And that's the best gift. That is the best gift that I could ever ask out of this. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to break the lineage that my family has had.
Yes.
And we're, unfortunately, my grandma, you know, in their age, they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the education. She went through trauma, and unfortunately she had to live as a victim her entire life and never got to see the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn what we see, and I get to break that. I get to break that.
Yeah.
And
I'm so happy for you, because I mean, I just had a son, and you know,
congratulations.
yeah, yeah, thank you. You know, and I believe in, like, you know, the iniquities of the father, the transgressions that are passed down through the bloodline from generation to generation. And you know, bef- God had to do a lot of spiritual surgery on me before he put my wife in my life and we had a child, because all that stuff would have been passed down in my bloodline to him, and it would have continued, you see. So it stopped with me, and it's going to start with him, and it's going to continue a totally different way. And I'm so grateful, man, for that. So I can relate, man. Like, your example is the best gift you can give to your children.
And if you think about it, I think back to when I started kindergarten, and you're off the bat, we're told, don't act that way because you're going to make fun of. Don't act that way because you're not going to fit in.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we're taught since 5 years old to
Yeah.
hide who we are.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just being me. Why are you to not act that way? Why can't I be me? You don't get that as a kid.
Yeah.
We need
Uh-huh.
to teach our kids, you be who you are, and you stand for what you believe in, and you don't have to fit in. Like, you love yourself to be who you are. I mean, it's time. It's time that we continue to stand for that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so grateful.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm so fulfilled.
Yeah.
A
I'm
year
right
has
there with you.
been so
Oh,
bad for many, you know. So thank you so much for
yeah,
having.
yeah, no worries. Okay, so now we actually were just kind of talking about this, but the next question is, what are you most grateful for in recovery?
Yeah, I think I just I could
Yeah.
I could jump for joy just to break the curse, to break
Yes.
and to lead by example, because you know, actions speak louder than words. And
Hmm.
I can proudly say that I'm hopefully I'm hopefully going to continue to be the person my kids can look up to, and I will fight every day. I will always put my recovery first,
Hmm.
because if I don't put my recovery first, then everything else comes last. And
Yeah.
it feels selfish at first because you have to say things, but you have to be selfish before you're selfless, and that's
Hmm.
what I will continue to do.
That's awesome. All right. Okay. This is one last question. Um, what would you say to somebody right now that's still suffering out there with this disease of addiction?
I know how hard it is. I know when you're in the dark active addiction, you feel so alone. You feel like nobody understands you. You feel so ashamed. But I say, take a chance, reach out to somebody that you know loves you unconditionally. And if you feel you don't have that person, reach out to me, reach out to Alika. There's so many people out there. We're not alone. And I can't tell you, Alika, well, you're part of it. So the community of people I've met this past few months, oh my God, I've met
Yeah.
amazing people that I never would have met if I didn't struggle with my addiction. And I
Uh-huh.
have the courage to come forward. And if you guys didn't have the courage to come forward, we all wouldn't be here. So
Yes.
I want to thank you for you having the courage to share, to be here for me, because I'm learning from
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, I agree with you. You know, it's amazing the connections that
yeah,
we make when we get sober. Like, you know, this is something. This is one thing that I'm grateful for the pandemic. I mean, that might sound kind of weird, But without it, I wouldn't have met any of you guys because I wouldn't be home a lot on my social media, kind of thing. But because, everything I went into lockdown, back in March and um, building relationships with other people. And it's just amazing the connection that's made. And it's not like, we're making these connections because we want to get something from somebody. We want something, you know what I mean? We're trying to manipulate them into, I don't know, giving us something or something, nothing like that. But there's a humongous and very strong sober community I found in on Instagram, specifically on Instagram. And somebody, I forgot who it was, but it was a post. It was today, I think. I was reading it last night. About finding a sober community or finding friends or something like that on social media. Honestly, if you are a drug addict and an alcoholic, like, we know how to work hard. We know how to work hard, man. We know how to. That's not a mystery to us. So taking the time to go onto social media and find different people should be a piece of cake. You know what I mean? For somebody like us, for me anyways, you know. But again, man, I really appreciate what you're doing. You're very inspiring and very encouraging for me to see, all your stories, you do exercise a lot though. That's pretty cool, man. That's inspiring because I know I got to go do my exercise after this. Shucks.
All right.
But and you're just this advocate and this voice. You are recovering very loudly. And people are still suffering out there. I think 2019 or last year, but 81,000 people died. That was a record number high of just alcoholism, just alcohol. That's just alcohol, no prescription drugs, no illegal drugs, illicit drugs, nothing like that. So there's no shortages of people out there that need help, that need to hear your story. And I'm so happy, I'm so proud that you kind of, you didn't listen to those voices that could have stopped you from preventing. Because I guarantee you this, I guarantee you have helped people on social media. I guarantee it. Because I'm one of them. That's how I can guarantee it. But the women especially, because women can relate more with women. So you're so awesome, man. Thank you so much for being here. I've been telling Saya and Steve and them, I don't know how we can do it because I don't know. Instagram doesn't do it yet. It's only one person at a time live, but we all got to get together. So we were talking about Steve's podcast. Maybe that, I don't know. You can get tons of people on there, but we'll see. We got Steve. If you're on here, call me.
That would be that's what me and Alex were talking about. I wish we could do like 20 people on IG Live.
Yeah,
maybe
I know.
Maybe, but there's
I know you can. I know you can do it on Zoom though, but I'm not too familiar with it. But I know you can. You can have multiple people on there at a time and then post it. So yeah, we could do that for sure. We should get we gotta.
In.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. We gotta get the word out. As much as my mind sometimes tells me, okay, you did enough. You talked about recovery enough today. I never listen to that ever.
No.
I don't because I can never talk about it enough. I can never talk about how much God has changed my life. I cannot stay silent about that. My wife knows this about me too, man. Like if we're somewhere, like we were in Vegas one time, and we were at this place, and the person there like was serving us. Well, I was saying, I mentioned that I was sober, so she goes over and gets her coworker, and her coworker comes over to me, and he just got sober, and oh my gosh! So I stopped everything, and I started talking recovery with this guy. It doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing. You want to talk recovery, I will stop what I'm doing, and I will talk recovery with you. It's in my DNA now. I cannot not do it.
Can you imagine? I think about it. How many people that I have no idea that I work with every day, like they probably have no idea of what I went through because of the image I have at work.
Right.
Probably so many of them, and it's really unfortunate that we gotta hurt in silence, in the dark, in the low. It's so sad, and that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping, that by all of us sharing our stories, it'll just normalize the conversation, because nobody deserves that. It's living hell. It's living freaking hell. Oh my,
Yes, it is. It is. But thank God it's not like that today.
Yes.
Well, Dominique, thank you so much for being here. We definitely will do this again. But is there any last words you want to say to anybody out there?
I just want to say, keep fighting the fight. Don't give up. You're so worth it. Don't let the darkness take that over you. You're so worth it. Ask for help, man. You're worth
That's right.
it.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right. Okay, cool. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I really appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you, Alika. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, guys, that was Dominique. Just right there, she was talking about the darkness. I equate darkness with ignorance. For me, I was very ignorant to my problem, but I was even more ignorant to the solution. Somebody once told me that make sure the light in you be not darkness. What that means is make sure what you believe to be true is not a lie. I lived the life for 20 years because I believed the life for 20 years. Now, as always, guys, if somebody got a story to tell, how they were suffering and they no longer suffer, please, I would love to hear it. Reach out to me. You can send them my profile, whatever. If it's you, contact me. I would love to do it and make it happen. Thank you guys so much for watching.